Fraudsters and hackers today are no longer just stealing money. They have become adept at moving it quickly and invisibly across borders using sophisticated money rotation techniques masked below the radar of authorities. As a logistic professional, I find this particularly alarming because these illicit flows often exploit the very logistic network we rely on every day. That is why in today's episode of Logistically Speaking, I wanted to focus on how cybercriminals integrate financial fraud with logistics to launder money, highlighting emerging patterns, striking examples, and rising countermeasures. Money rotation is essentially a cycle where stolen or illegally obtained funds are transferred rapidly through a series of transactions, accounts, or jurisdictions to conceal the origin. Some entities exploit complex supply chain, trade corridors, and e-commerce logistic platforms to mask financial flows within seemingly legitimate business activities. For example, a typical one-flow approach starts with fraudulent transactions like identity theft or business email compromise that siphon money from unsuspecting victims. These funds then move into corporate accounts disguising as payment for goods or services in global supply chains. Next, shipping manifests, invoicing, and cross-border logistics create a mask of authenticity where containers might never leave the port but are recorded as shipped. This method misleads customs, bank, and regulators and allows illegal gains to be integrated into the financial system without any detection. Recent cybercrime research indicates that transaction laundering, which is the name for a method where illicit funds are disguised through logistics, trade, or online transaction, accounts for nearly 40% of global money laundering, with estimated losses exceeding $2 trillion annually. According to Europol's 2025 financial crime report, criminals are increasingly exploiting e-commerce platforms and supply chain loopholes to make dirty money look legitimate, especially in sectors such as apparel, electronics, and pharmaceutical, where high value and complex logistics help conceal illicit activity. Moreover, approximately 70% of all cross-border illicit financial flows leverage trade misinvoicing and intangible logistic fraud, often difficult to detect without integrated data analysis of financial and shipping records. A case involving an international fraud ring was discovered in 2024 where criminals used legitimate exporters and freight forwarders as fronts. Stolen payments were disguised as trade settlement for shipments that were inflated in value or completely fictitious. One modus operandi involved using air cargo shipments to rapidly move non-existent goods, giving the appearance of real import or export activities while cycling illicit proceeds through multiple bank accounts worldwide. The ring exploited jurisdictions with inadequate AML or anti-money laundering oversight, including certain ports in the UAE and Southeast Asia, compounding detection challenges. On another front, criminals have exploited digital marketplace and last mile delivery services to fragment high-value goods into smaller shipments, further disguising illicit proceeds through a web of microtransactions that look like legitimate trade. This integration of fraud and logistics put unprecedented pressure on supply chain transparency, regulatory compliance, and risk management. For logistic firms, this means the need to look beyond physical cargo, leveraging AI and blockchain to authenticate transactions, track real-time cargo, and correlate shipment data with financial flows to flag any kind of irregularities. Banks and custom authorities are increasingly collaborating to deploy pattern recognition algorithms that analyze large data set across trade, finance, and shipping. However, gaps remain, especially where institutions work in isolation with limited data sharing. By 2026, analysts predict that failure to adopt cross-institutional monitoring and AI-powered detection will expose logistic companies to higher regulatory fines and reputational losses related to inadvertent facilitation of money laundering. Now, let me talk on 5 multi-pronged action required to combat money rotation. Number 1, holistic data integration. Analyzing past data and combining financial, shipping, customs, and trade data sets with AI can significantly enhance anomaly detection. Number 2, rigorous KYC and supplier vetting. This will help in expanding due diligence beyond buyers and vendors to include freight forwarders and last mile logistic partners. Number 3, upskilling teams. It is required to train staff to recognize signs of invoice fraud, trade misinvoicing, and suspicious logistic pattern. Number 4, regulatory cooperation. The time has come for strengthening cross-border data sharing between financial regulators, customs, and law enforcement agencies. Number 5, transparency technologies. Companies should look at deploying blockchain for immutable transaction and shipment records, enhancing auditability. What is the need of the hour is closing the gap in the invisible money flow. Money rotation via logistics is a sophisticated and growing threat that exploit the complex interdependencies between banking and trade. For the logistic industry, awareness and proactive detection are essential to uphold trust, ensure compliance, and protect the financial ecosystem. Understanding and combating this hidden flaw requires cooperation, innovation, and vigilance across all stakeholders, from operation and compliance teams to regulators worldwide. Well, share this with someone who could be at risk. Make sure you subscribe for ongoing insight into the evolving nexus of AI, trade, and financial security. Thank you for watching.